She took my Stanford acceptance letter out of my hands, smiled, and dropped it into the fireplace like it was junk mail. That's when I knew I was never her daughter. Please listen closely to what happened. If any part of this story hits your heart, consider staying with me till the end, and maybe even sharing it with someone who needs to hear it. It all started on a cold Friday afternoon. I had just come home from school when I saw the envelope on the kitchen table. Thick paper, red seal, my name printed on the front. My hands were shaking as I opened it. I didn't even make it to my room before I started crying. Stanford. I got in. I really got in. I ran upstairs and hid the letter under my mattress. My plan was to tell Dad during dinner. I knew he'd be proud. He always said I'd go farther than anyone in this family. But before dinner, Clarissa called me downstairs. Her voice was unusually sweet. I knew something was off. She was standing in the living room near the fireplace, holding the envelope in one hand, her phone in the other. Talia, her daughter, stood beside her, arms crossed, smirking. Clarissa waved the letter at me like it was trash. Stanford, she said, fake laughing. Really, Rowan? Who do you think you're fooling? I tried to grab it from her, but she stepped back. Then, still smiling, she looked me dead in the eyes and dropped the letter into the flame. I screamed. I ran forward, but it was already curling into black ash. The only proof of my dream, gone in seconds. You forged it, she said. Trying to get attention because Talia didn't make it in? How pathetic. I stood there frozen. I looked at Talia, who didn't say a word, just enjoyed the show. I ran to my room and slammed the door. I cried into my pillow until my throat burned. I wanted to scream at my dad, but I knew she'd get to him first. And she did. That night, he came into my room with a heavy look in his eyes. Row in, he said softly. I know it's hard not getting into your dream school, but making fake letters isn't the way to deal with it. I couldn't believe it. He actually believed her. I felt invisible. I felt betrayed. Like I didn't matter in this house anymore. But deep down, under all the hurt and humiliation, something inside me clicked. I wasn't going to let this be the end of my story. I wasn't going to let them win. I saved one burned corner of the letter, just a tiny piece with my name still showing. And I promised myself that one day, Clarissa and Talia would regret the day they tried to destroy my future. My dad grounded me for lying and snooping in Talia's mail. Those were Clarissa's exact words. She told him I'd faked the Stanford letter and tried to pass it off as real to make Talia look bad. And just like that, he believed her. No questions. No chance to defend myself. I wasn't even allowed to talk. He just stood there, arms crossed, shaking his head. I'm disappointed in you, he said. That sentence crushed me more than anything. Clarissa stood behind him with a fake concerned look, like she was sad for me. But I saw it in her eyes. That tiny smirk. That's when I started calling her the smiling monster in my head. She always smiled when she was doing the worst thing. Talia didn't hold back either. She called me crazy, jealous, and desperate. She would walk past my room and whisper, Stanford girl, with a laugh like it was some kind of joke. Sometimes she'd even toss crumpled papers at my door just to annoy me. Clarissa took it further. She started throwing away anything related to school. Books, notebooks, even my calendar with college deadlines gone. She told me I didn't need those fantasies. She cut down my meals to just toast or plain rice. No snacks. No packed lunches. And the chores? They never ended. Scrub the floors, clean the garage, wash all the windows, even in the snow. She kept saying, if you're going to be here, you might as well earn your keep. I felt like a stranger in my own house. One night, after scrubbing the bathroom tiles until my hands were raw, I went to my room and cried in the dark. I almost gave up. Almost. But then I remembered, before Clarissa burned my letter, I'd hidden a copy. But that was gone now. Or so I thought. The next day, I went to return a library book I'd borrowed a few weeks back. As I flipped through the pages one last time, something fell out. A burned corner of my original acceptance letter. I'd used it as a bookmark without even thinking. The Stanford seal was barely visible, but my name was there, clear as day. My heart raced. I tucked it inside another book and checked that one out instead. That tiny, charred piece of paper became my secret weapon. My proof. My fuel. I swore to myself right there in that quiet library aisle, Clarissa and Talia would pay. Maybe not today, but someday, I'd make them both wish they had never touched my future. I stopped asking for help after that winter. No one believed me anyway, so I quietly made my own plans. I started working longer hours at the local bakery down the street. Miss Dottie, the owner, liked me and gave me early morning and weekend shifts. It wasn't much, minimum wage, mostly cleaning trays and refilling the pastry case, but I took every extra hour I could get. I didn't tell anyone at home. I just left before sunrise and came back pretending I'd been at the library. And honestly, most days I was at the library. After work, I'd walk to the town branch and sit in the corner computer station, far from the kids and noisy printers, and start filling out college applications again. This time to out-of-state schools, mostly smaller ones with rolling deadlines and strong scholarship programs. I used fake names on the applications, just in case Clarissa somehow found out. While I waited for responses, I paid attention. Clarissa thought she had everything under control, but she was careless. She'd leave envelopes half open, bills unpaid. Sometimes I heard her lying to my dad about money. "Grayson, you must have forgotten the water bill again," she'd say, even though I'd seen her shove the notice into her purse. She was good at twisting things, making people feel stupid while she smiled sweetly. Talia was no better. She had no clue how to live without someone else doing the thinking. She bragged about being almost valedictorian, but I'd seen her report card. Her GPA was slipping. She'd scroll through her phone in tears when other girls posted about scholarships and awards. She wanted to look perfect, but she was cracking, so I did what Clarissa would never expect. I was nice. I started helping Talia with her homework. I gave her tips on writing essays, offered her my old assignments for reference, and complimented her even when it made my stomach turn. "You actually explained that pretty well," I'd say with a soft smile. It made her light up, like someone had finally taken her seriously. She started asking for more. "Can you just check this paragraph? What would you say for this answer?" Little by little, she leaned in. She needed me, and I let her. But here's what she didn't know. The essays I gave her were edited, just enough to sound smart, but not smart enough. I left in small grammar mistakes and swapped in weak points. The projects she copied, full of little holes. The answers I helped with, slightly off, just enough to hurt her grades. I wasn't loud. I wasn't cruel. I didn't yell or fight back. I just smiled and helped. Because the truth was, my life had become her punishment. Every favor I gave her came with a thread. And when the time was right, I'd pull every single one. I learned something about Clarissa. She only trusted people who made themselves small. So that's exactly what I became. I lowered my eyes when she spoke. I agreed with her ridiculous opinions. I cleaned twice as hard and stayed out of the way. I even thanked her when she gave me leftovers or let me stay out an extra hour. She saw me as weak, broken, obedient. And that's exactly what I wanted. With her guard down, I had access to more than just chores. She started leaving files out on the dining table, half-shredded papers in the trash, and once, her unlocked laptop while she went upstairs to take a phone call. I didn't rush. I stayed calm, careful, quiet. In her emails, I found messages between her and a local teacher, Mr. Weller. He had agreed to write Talia a glowing recommendation letter, in exchange for something off the record. I didn't know what she promised him, but the emails made it obvious she'd convinced him to lie. The letter talked about leadership, service, and a volunteer record Talia didn't have. So I went digging for that too. I found photos from a charity event she'd never attended. Her face was photoshopped next to boxes of canned food. A fake sign-in sheet was tucked into a file folder marked College Apps T. She even backdated the hours by forging a community center stamp. I scanned and saved every piece, one by one, onto a flash drive I wore around my neck, hidden inside a hollowed-out pen. Then I deleted my traces, put everything back just the way it was, and smiled as I handed Clarissa her tea that evening. Talia, meanwhile, still thought I was her personal tutor. She came to me with every essay, every worksheet, every application. I gave her answers, but none of them were strong. I filled her head with half-truths, made her think she was improving when she was slowly slipping. And the best part, she thanked me for it. There were no loud fights, no threats, no scenes. Just silence. Strategy. Patience. This wasn't going to be revenge with a bang. No viral post, no screaming match at the dinner table. My plan was simple. Expose the truth. No drama. No lies. Just facts that couldn't be denied. And when the time was right, I'd lay it all out in front of them. One page, one email, one fake signature at a time. Clarissa came into my room on Thursday evening, smiling like she always did before dropping bad news. "Grayson and I are heading out of town this weekend to visit some campuses," she said, adjusting her necklace. "But Talia's falling behind. She needs to stay here and catch up on work. You'll watch her." She said it like I was a babysitter, like Talia wasn't the same age as me. I nodded, quiet and obedient as usual. But inside, I was already planning. That weekend was my moment. The house felt different once they left. Quiet. Lighter. I waited until the front door clicked shut and the car pulled out of the driveway. Then I turned to Talia, who was already lounging on the couch with her phone. "You're not relaxing this weekend," I said flatly. She blinked. "Excuse me?" I walked to the coffee table and dropped a small folder. Inside were printouts of her forged essays, volunteer records, and copies of the fake recommendation letter. On top, a note with a simple sentence. "One email, and this all goes to the school board." She stared at the folder, then back at me. Her face drained of color. I've done the cooking, the cleaning, the laundry. Every chore. Every dish, I said. This weekend, it's your turn. You're insane, she whispered. I'm prepared, I replied. I reached into my pocket and held up a small recorder. You remember what you said last week about how your mom forged everything? I recorded that too. Talia went silent. For a long minute, she just stood there, breathing hard. Then, without a word, she picked up the cleaning gloves I laid out and walked to the kitchen. And just like that, I took back control. She scrubbed dishes while I sat at the counter eating cereal. She vacuumed while I read a book. She folded laundry, badly, and burned the rice on her first try cooking. I didn't yell. I didn't insult. I simply gave instructions the way she and Clarissa always gave them to me, cold, clipped, with no kindness. Talia tried to talk back once. I raised my eyebrow and reached for the folder again. She backed down immediately. I didn't enjoy hurting her. This wasn't about revenge for the sake of pain. It was about balance. About showing her what it felt like to be treated like nothing. And maybe, just maybe, to make her think about all the times she watched me suffer and said nothing. That night, she sat across from me at the dinner table, exhausted, quiet, and not so smug anymore. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But I remembered the ashes in the fireplace, the laughter, the years of being stepped on. This weekend wasn't about getting even. It was about reminding myself I wasn't helpless anymore. And she knew it too. Talia was not made for hard work. That became clear the moment she held a mop like it might bite her. Her pink acrylic nails clashed against the dirty bucket of water, and after just 5 minutes of scrubbing the hallway, she gagged. My back hurts, she whined. Keep going, I said calmly, setting the timer on my phone. 20 more minutes. Her eyes flared, but she didn't argue. She knew better now. Every task I gave her, she stumbled through. The laundry was too heavy, the toilet brush too gross, the dishes too greasy. She'd never touched bleach in her life, and within an hour, it had splashed onto her expensive legging. She screamed like it was acid. I didn't laugh. I didn't even smile. I just filmed short clips, quietly, carefully, not for revenge porn, not to humiliate her online. These videos were for me. Just proof that this was happening, that I wasn't dreaming. That the girl who used to throw her smoothie cups on the floor for me to clean was now scrubbing the same tiles. By Saturday evening, she was limping from sore legs and holding back tears. Her hair was messy, her manicure ruined, and her attitude cracked. But I wasn't done yet. After dinner, I placed 2 printed essays on the kitchen table and told her to sit. Read them, I said. Out loud. She hesitated. Why? Because they're yours, I said. The ones you copied from me. She blinked, confused. Read them, I repeated. She started reading slowly, stumbling over phrases she clearly didn't understand. Her voice cracked halfway through, and her face turned pale when I interrupted. You know why that paragraph makes no sense? Because I put it in there on purpose. Same with the statistics you didn't double-check. And that source you quoted? It doesn't exist. She looked up at me, her mouth slightly open. You never even bothered to read what you stole, I said softly. You just took it and ran, like always. Her hands trembled. The truth was sinking in. You've never done anything on your own, Talia. Not once. You've been living in a world your mother built for you, and even she needed to cheat to make you look good. Talia didn't say anything. She just sat there, small and quiet, tears finally spilling over. I didn't comfort her. I didn't offer tissues. I just stood there, watching the mask fall off. Brick by brick, she was unraveling, and I was finally standing tall. It was just after 2 a.m. when I heard soft footsteps outside my bedroom door, followed by a knock so light I almost missed it. Rowan. Talia's voice was cracked and low, barely above a whisper. I opened the door and saw her standing there, eyes red, face blotchy, her arms wrapped tightly around herself like she was trying to hold everything together. Can I talk to you? She asked. I stepped aside and let her in. She sat on the edge of my bed and stared at the floor for a long time before speaking. I'm not like you, she said finally. I never was. I stayed quiet. She took a shaky breath. I didn't want to burn your letter. I didn't even know you got into Stanford until my mom told me. She found it under your mattress while she was cleaning. I was in the room when she read it. I felt something tighten in my chest. She looked so calm, Talia continued. She didn't scream or cry. She just said, "This doesn't fit our story." Then she lit the fire and made me promise not to tell. She told me you were going to take everything away from me, dad, college, attention, and that I had to be stronger. She wiped her nose with her sleeve. She said if I ever wanted to be something, I had to outshine you no matter what. I didn't move. I reached under my pillow and slowly turned on the small voice recorder I kept hidden there. Talia kept going. She helped me cheat. She wrote half my essays, forged hours for volunteering. She even paid Mr. Weller to write a fake recommendation. I didn't even know the guy. She made it all sound normal, like everybody did it. Her voice cracked. And she told me to be mean to you. Said it would make you give up faster. Said you'd just fade away if we made you feel small enough. Tears streamed down her face. But you didn't. You worked. You got in. And I didn't earn anything. I let the silence hang. She looked up at me. I'm sorry, Rowan. I really am. I turned off the recorder and stood. You can sleep in your room, I said. We're done for tonight. She nodded, too ashamed to speak again. The next morning, I uploaded the recording to a secure cloud, then handed a copy to a local lawyer I trusted, under a fake name. I told them to hold it, just in case. Because Clarissa was coming home that evening. She texted saying she was bringing back gifts for us. I smiled when I read it. Perfect. Let her bring her gifts. I had something to give too. Clarissa walked through the front door with shopping bags in both hands and a wide, smug smile. Girls, she called. I brought souvenirs. Talia didn't run to greet her. She stood near the stairs, eyes downcast, arms folded. Her clothes were wrinkled, and her once perfect hair hung in limp strands. Clarissa's smile faltered for just a second before she turned her eyes to me. You look, well, she said tightly. I've had a productive weekend, I replied, calm and cool. Grayson followed behind her, talking about the college tour as he set his keys down. Shame Talia couldn't come. They had some nice program. She was better off studying, Clarissa snapped, but even she could see something was off. Is everything okay? Grayson asked, glancing between us. I think it's time we all sat down, I said. There's something you both need to hear. Clarissa stiffened. What is this? I pulled out my phone and pressed play. Talia's voice filled the room, shaky, crying raw. Her confession spilled out, line by line. The burned letter, the fake applications, the coaching, the lies. She admitted to everything. Grayson's face changed with every sentence. Confusion turned to disbelief, then to anger. Clarissa lunged for the phone. Turn that off. But it was too late. Talia, tell them this is fake, she barked. Talia didn't even look at her. She just whispered, It's real, Mom. Grayson turned to Clarissa slowly. You told me Rowan forged that letter. You made me ground her. You let me think my daughter was lying for attention. Clarissa opened her mouth, but no words came out. I want proof, Grayson said, voice shaking. Emails, applications, letters. I want it all tested. I want the truth, finally. Clarissa tried to protest, but her voice cracked under the weight of it all. Every lie she'd layered over the years was unraveling right in front of her. I said nothing. I just watched. For once, I didn't have to fight or beg to be believed. The evidence was all there. Emails she sent, fake volunteer logs, falsified school documents. It was like peeling wallpaper, revealing the rotten wall beneath. Talia sat frozen, her world crashing down beside her mother's. When it was over, Grayson turned to me with red eyes. I'm so sorry, Rowan. I should have believed you. I didn't answer. I just stood, picked up my bag, and walked out of the room. The truth had finally come home, and it had done exactly what I hoped it would, burned everything Clarissa built to the ground. Clarissa didn't say a word when she was told to leave. Grayson stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching her pack. She still tried to keep her chin high, tossing designer shoes into a suitcase, but the panic showed in her eyes. Everything she'd built, her lies, her image, her fake perfect family, was gone. She didn't even try to fight the divorce papers. The lawyer had already sent them. Talia watched her mother go from the living room, slumped on the couch like a child who had just lost her safety blanket. No car keys, no phone, no fancy future waiting. Just silence and consequences. Grayson turned to me that evening, eyes heavy. Rowan, I don't even know how to say sorry big enough for what I let happen. I looked at him. For the first time in years, he looked like my dad again, not Clarissa's puppet. But I didn't say anything. I just nodded once, picked up my acceptance letter from the table, and went back upstairs to pack. I was leaving for college in 2 days. A full ride, housing included. It wasn't Stanford, but it was mine, earned, clean, and real. While I folded my clothes and sorted through books, I could hear Talia downstairs. Grayson had her doing dishes, vacuuming, and scrubbing the floors. She complained, but not like before. There was no more sass in her voice, just exhaustion. He was strict now, no makeup, no rides, no phone. Her transcripts had been pulled, and colleges had already been notified of the fraud. Her applications were void. She'd be repeating senior year, but this time without shortcuts. That house felt lighter with Clarissa gone, still damaged but healing. On my last morning, I came down the stairs with my suitcase in one hand and my letter in the other. Talia was on her knees with a mop, scrubbing the kitchen tile where I had once knelt while she laughed at me from the couch. Her hands were red, her hair tied back, and she didn't even look up when I passed. I stopped beside her. She froze, waiting for me to insult her or throw something back in her face. Instead, I bent slightly and said, "Keep going." She looked up, confused. "You've got 4 more years of this," I added softly. "Might as well get good at it." I walked out without waiting for a response. The door clicked shut behind me, and I didn't look back. Outside, the sun was rising. My ride to the airport pulled into the driveway. I smiled as I stepped into the car. For the first time in years, I felt free, not because someone rescued me, but because I rescued myself. And justice? It looked a lot like a mop in someone else's hand. The air in Chicago felt different, crisper, louder, alive. As I stepped onto campus with my suitcase rolling behind me, I let the sound of passing cars, student laughter, and the hum of city life wash over me. It was all so new, and it was mine. The dorms weren't fancy, but I didn't care. My room was small, with 2 twin beds, a desk, and a window that looked out onto a courtyard filled with students carrying books and coffee cups. I stood in the doorway for a second, just taking it all in. "Hey," someone said behind me. I turned to see a girl with curly brown hair and a giant duffel bag. "I'm Zara. Looks like we're roommates." "Row in," I said, smiling. We started unpacking. She put up Polaroids and fairy lights. I laid out my books and neatly folded sweaters. A few minutes passed before she asked the question. "So, what's your family like? They help you move in?" I paused. 1,000 memories flashed through my mind. Clarissa's smirk, Talia's laughter, the burning letter, the floor I scrubbed while they watched. Then I remembered the recording, the truth finally coming out, and walking away without looking back. I looked at Zara and gave her a small smile. "It's a long story," I said. She nodded, like she understood it was something I didn't want to unpack just yet. After she left the room to grab snacks, I sat on my bed and opened the small envelope I'd carried in my backpack the entire trip. It was my acceptance letter, folded neatly, no burn marks, no ashes. Just clean, white paper with my name in bold letters and the words "Welcome to North Ridge University" across the top. I ran my fingers over it and felt a quiet warmth settle in my chest. This letter hadn't been handed to me. It hadn't come with favors or fake hours or stolen essays. It came from early mornings at the bakery, late nights at the library, and the kind of strength no one saw until it had already carried me through the worst. I smiled, tucked the letter back into its folder, and placed it in my desk drawer. This time, no one was going to take it away. Because I made it. Without them, what would you have done if you were in Rowan's place? Walked away like she did, or stayed and tried to fix what was broken? I'd really like to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if these kinds of stories speak to you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss what's coming next.